Today I'm going to show you how I made this Jean Corset-like top out of an old denim long skirt. The first thing I've done is sewn back together the bottom of the skirt. And I matched it to the size of my chest area because I am going to be making this into a corset-like top. So I'm just showing you where I had stitched it by hand to once again bring the circle-like structure to it back together to wear it like a top. And to give that corset-like feel, we're going to be stitching on both sides, basically putting one piece of fabric under the other, and I'm going to be pinning it and then hand stitching it all together. So I'm pinning one side while I have the top on, just so I get the exact placement that I want, and I'm going to mimic it on the other side. And then I'm essentially going to be measuring the other side to make sure I'm matching where it's placed, and I'm using some chalk to mark it. This way the pins will match and not be uneven when I go in to hand stitch it. You want to make sure everything's flat and even, and then just go in with your pins. I only use 2 per side, and just pin it together to keep it steady and sturdy, ready for your hand stitch. And here I'm just showing you guys how it looks with both sides pinned, and that's what we're going to be creating, is kind of that fold and just kind of up leveling it. And for this hand stitch, I chose a navy-like thread to match the denim, so that way it's kind of more hidden and not as in your face, like using the lighter stitching, as you can see on the other parts of this piece. That way it's more undetectable and kind of just blends in, and you can't really tell that there is stitching on it at all, especially when you match it so well. So what I'm doing is I'm first stitching the first part of the fold, and I'm going to be stitching this up until basically that second pin. I'm going just a little bit above that to maintain that look of the fold while not kind of messing with the integrity of the fold and kind of making the garment smaller. It's just making this fold for aesthetic purposes, and it can make the top fit a little bit better, especially at the chest area. So I'm just continuing, starting from the inside to make the first stitch hidden. You don't want to start on the outside because you don't want that knot showing. And then here I am just cutting it. And then I'm going to be moving on to the second part of the stitch like I was talking about. And from that second stitch, I'm going to be doing from the inside and folding it inside out. So this way it's going to lay more flat, not only on you, but also off of you. The garment will just naturally fold and sit better. So I'm just stitching the second part of that fold again up until that same height, like right where that second pin was. But since my first stitching is done now, I can just follow where I ended on the first line and just mimic that again for the second line of stitching. And then I'm just cutting off any loose threads and excess that, while I'm hand stitching got in the way. So the first side is done, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Drum roll, the finished piece. And I'll show it on. Here we go. It's not perfect, but I'm very happy with the turnout. It's always fun creating new pieces, and you should try it out.